It is never too early to start talking about the NFL. Games spread out from Thanksgiving all the way to Monday. Some of the Sunday NFL notable games. The Steelers very much still alive. They fired their offensive coordinator. Cincinnati, they're moving ahead without Joe Burrow. How about the battle in the AFC South? The Jags and the Texans. If Houston wins, these two teams will be tied for first place. How about that? Then the big one, the Bills and the Eagles. Philadelphia playing the Chiefs and Bills back-to-back. Then they have the 49ers after that. Then the Ravens going on the road Sunday night football in L.A. About 50 miles from where I'm sitting right now. So with all of that happening on Sunday, there's got to be some early value. Welcome back. I'm the coach. He is Proppy. That is Emory Hunt. So, Emory, I'm going to start with you on this one. When you look at the games, I'm going to give you anything you want on the board. Where are you going?
Best bet this Sunday has to be the Giants-Patriots under at 33.5. Take that under. Not because Tommy DeVito is a starting quarterback as an undrafted rookie free agent, but mainly because you have Bill Belichick going up against an undrafted rookie free agent in Tommy DeVito. I don't see these offenses doing much, but if I had to trust a quarterback to score some points against a very tough defense, because the Giants defense is also tough, I will trust Mac Jones in that Patriots offense. I see this game being 20-3. Definitely helps you cash the under.
I did our NFL Mega preview earlier today with R.J. White and Larry Hartstein. We had 3 unders below 35. I don't know that we've ever seen that before in the NFL. Proppy, let me come up to you. You've got anything on the board. It's a smorgasbord for you. Where are you headed?
Coach, since there's no props, I'm going to go with a total here, Coach. And I know you don't care for unders, so why don't we do an over? I'm going over 48 points in Jacksonville versus Houston. This has all the makings of a classic AFC South showdown. We're looking at two of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. C.J. Stroud going against Trevor Lawrence. Saw the Jags really bounce back nicely last week after getting just crushed by San Francisco, and we know how well C.J. Stroud is playing, leading the NFL in passing yards. Looking at both these defenses, too, they're both stout against the run. As a result, I think we're going to see an uptick in passing volume, and that's just going to lead to a high-scoring environment, Coach. I really think this game goes well over 50 points. I think we're going to have a shootout between two of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL, Coach.
Now, I got to tell you, the Texans have really started to impress me. They've turned into kind of an over team instead of an under team as well. So I love that play. Now, let's get specific. Let's go to the Bills and the Eagles. Now, the Eagles have a full 2-game lead in the NFC. There's nobody with 2 losses. They have 1. The Bills are just fighting for their playoff lives after beating the Jets, who isn't these days, but 4-7 against the spread. So, Alex, let me come back to you. When you look at these two teams, and we know the Eagles are your squad, you are honed in, laser focused. Where are you headed?
It's a fascinating matchup here, but I'm going to back the Eagles, Coach. I just think they're a bad matchup for these Buffalo Bills. It was encouraging watching Buffalo last week. Sans Ken Dorsey, we know Joe Brady took over as offensive coordinator, saw a much more balanced approach from Buffalo. Been looking for that all year. They really unleashed James Cook, who I thought had a great game, was able to contribute rushing and receiving out of the backfield. But this Eagles defense, they are stout. They're particularly stout up front. I think they're going to force the Bills to be one-dimensional. I also think this Eagles pass rush can really get after and bother Josh Allen, who just doesn't look in sync with the rest of the team, really minus Stephon Diggs right now. So I think this Eagles defense is ultimately going to be too much for the Buffalo Bills. Coming off that big win against your Chiefs last night, Coach, I'm going to back the Eagles. I think they end up winning by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, they were able to hold Kansas City for the second straight game scoreless in the second half. So, Emory, let me come over to you. We've got the Eagles by Proppy. When you look at all the numbers, according to FanDuel, where are you headed?
I'm right there with them. I'm laying these points with Philadelphia. The matchup just doesn't bode well for Buffalo. As much as everyone talks about the offense and what they did last weekend against the Jets' defense, was the fact that the Jets' offense couldn't sustain drives, so you had multiple at-bat. That won't happen against Philly. We saw that not happen with the Kansas City Chiefs. You have to be able to maximize your possessions against a very stout defense in Philadelphia. We know the Eagles' offense will take the air out of the football. We've seen them, even on their opening drives, take 7 minutes off a drive right out of the gate and force you to make something happen when you have the football. And when you're dealing with a quarterback that's a little bit prone to turning the ball over, I think that heavily weighs in favor for Philadelphia.
All right, so two guys, both of them on the Eagles -3.5. Maybe if it's not too expensive, buy that down to 3. Give yourself a little protection there for the field goal. All right, we already know in the Jags and the Texans that Proppy loves the over, which I do too. So as we look at the spread and we look at the total, Emory, let me come right back to you. Where are you headed in this game Sunday, 1 Eastern?
Right there with props again, going over. Here's the reason why. You figure this is a game that's for the AFC South. They can usurp Jacksonville with a win. And if you're Houston, you have to make sure you keep winning because you have Buffalo, you have Denver, you have Indianapolis breathing down your neck at that spot in the playoffs, even Pittsburgh, although I think they're going to continue to slide. But this is a big game, and we know both secondaries tends to give up the big play. I think we're going to live on these deep balls from both Trevor Lawrence and C.J. Stroud, so I like this one going over. I think this will come down to the wire. We're looking at about 27-24 here, which definitely puts us over 48.5.
When three very handsome gentlemen are on the same play, that means we absolutely play it. Let's play the over in the Jags and the Texans. Now, let's go to Sunday Night Football. The Ravens, now that the Chiefs have lost the Eagles, all 4 division leaders have 3 losses, including Baltimore. And now, Lamar Jackson, everything is laid out in front of them. They have the Chiefs on their schedule. They are in line. They can win out potentially for the number 1 seed. The Chargers, very underwhelming. Underachieving would be another word to use. So 3.5, Ravens favored on the road. That's shocking to me. Shocking to me. The total 46.5. Proppy, let's come back to you. When you look at these numbers, does it surprise you and where are you headed?
Yeah, it does surprise me, Coach. I think Baltimore should be bigger favorites here. I love backing Baltimore in this spot. They are just playing excellent football, all 3 phases, offensively, defensively, special teams. I think Lamar Jackson is the rightful front runner for MVP as well. I know the loss of Mark Andrews is going to be significant, but they are deep at pass catcher. They have a lot of receivers and 2 tight ends who I feel like can fill in maybe at 70 or 80% of what Mark Andrews brings to the table. Looking at this Chargers team, they are just underachieving. Yes, they have a lot of talent, but I think Baltimore is just going to be too much to handle. I think this is going to look like a lot of Baltimore games this year where they get up big in the first half. I'm talking 24-7, 27-7, 27-10, and then they sit on that lead in the second half. The Chargers' best chance is a backdoor cover as the Ravens essentially play keep away and grind the clock in the second half. But I am back in Baltimore. I think they win big.
I think I would give the same advice that I would give with the Eagles. Buy that down to 3. It's probably going to cost you 10 or 15 cents, and then you can win and have that push element. Now, Emory, I know you're a big locker room guy. And when Austin Eckler is taking the blame for the loss in Green Bay, you know that they have hit rock bottom because he gives everything that he has every single game. This is a must-win. How do you see it?
He also gave up the ball on the 2-yard line. That's why he out there like saying, hey, it was my fault. Yes, you left 6 points off the board with your fumble inside of 2. Of course he's going to say that. But this is a game where Baltimore will show up a lot. When you think about what they do well, they beat teams that everyone talks about. There's a story coming in. Everyone's going to talk about how Justin Herbert is great, how he's in the top 3 in terms of the quarterback rankings that everyone wants to throw out there. So these are games that Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens love to show up and show out. They're going to blow out the Chargers. Now, if this was Los Angeles State, take Los Angeles State because those are the games that the Baltimore Ravens tend to drop and lose. They won't lose this one. And we saw this play out a couple of years ago, maybe last year, I believe it was, or 2 years ago, when they played the Chargers in Baltimore. All they did was blitz Justin Herbert, made things uncomfortable for him. Expect it to be the same game plan here, and their pass rushers are starting to get it into a groove with Odafe Owe doing a great job now. They're going to live in the backfield, lay these points comfortably with Baltimore.
And you know it's going to sound like a Baltimore Ravens home game. It's a holiday weekend. Everybody's traveling out there here to L.A. I hope they realize I-10 is shut down. Don't drive on it. I promise you that if you're coming from Baltimore. Now, do not forget a busy weekend of the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. There are some of the games that you can watch, and boy, I tell you what, look at those late games. Bills, Eagles, Chiefs, Raiders. This is a rubber meets the road type of weekend, and we got it covered top to bottom, left to right, all over CBS and Paramount Plus. All right, still to come here on Sportsline. We've already tackled the early slate on the hardwood, but about the late slate tonight. The Lakers are in action. LeBron. We've got a couple of other players to talk about. How about KD? The Suns? Come on. We've got some late basketball to talk best bets. We'll do it next. The one and only Sportsline.